for a unique blend of strategic engagement and leisure. Participants will take part in business forums, networking sessions, and investment discussions, while also experiencing Vanuatu's rich culture, scenic islands, and tourism attractions. It is business with purpose and pleasure. Registration is currently ongoing for the Vanuatu Business and Pleasure Tour 2026. Think business, think leisure, think Vanuatu. To register, you can call Vanuatu Trade Commission Ghana on 0240-229-2820 or 0544-626-905. The numbers again, 0240-229-2820 or 0544-626-905. Note, registration is first come, first served, so don't wait for last minute pressure. Get yourself registered now. And you know, we always ask you to start your day on a very good note. Well, if you haven't had a Mixi Choco this morning, then you're actually missing out something special. The rich new taste of Mixi Choco is crafted to brighten your mornings and keep you refreshed all day long. Everything is right in there for you. Just add hot water, stay and enjoy a warm, comforting cup of Mixi Choco. And now for the coffee lovers, you're not leaving you out at all. Mixi Coffee Choco has something special for you too. Mixi Coffee delivers a creamy, smooth coffee experience that keeps you energized for your everyday hustle. Honestly, just one sip and you're going to feel it very well. And guess what? There is more. Introducing the new delicious Mixi Strawberry, a sweet, exciting addition, and one more reason you should love Mixi. Start your day right away and start it with Mixi. Trying to hot. So now there are lots. My people, good morning. You know how politics can get very interesting, and sometimes, yes. So this is how we get to get into the various newspapers making headlines this morning. So let's get into the various papers this morning. So the Ghanaian Times newspaper is saying review cocoa funding model Linkobag appeals to government, and Cocoa Board working to pay farmers. CEO assures, that's Dr. Randy Abbey over there. And WLA president expresses confidence in Ghana to host 2028 lottery summit. So this and some other stories you can find in the Ghanaian Times this morning. The Daily Graphic, the big one is saying Ayawaso East NDC primary, Baba Jamal hot. President recalls him from diplomatic duties, and OSP and party probe vote buying allegation. Yes, so it's actually trending today. And Ghana to host 40 African award and secure funding to purchase 300,000 tons of cocoa. Buyers Association to government, and Cocoa Board assures of swift action. So this and some other stories you can find in the Daily Graphic this morning. The Daily Guide newspaper, vote buying rocks Ayawaso East NDC primaries. Candidates share motorbikes, TVs, cash, butter, clothes, boiled eggs, and ice chairs. Okay, I'm going to delve deeply do the headlines with the guests. So these are some other stories you find in the Daily Guide newspaper. The next paper, please. The National Voice newspaper is saying Africa Development Council honors Dr. Bawumia with Order of the Sun as Africa's most tolerant leader, and cocoa sector bleeding as cause growth for Cocoa Board CEO's dismissal. Activists slams trial and error leadership. And Ejoso MP cracks must close now. Ajimambedu demands unity after Bawumia's victory. Yes, so this and some other stories you can find in the National Voice newspaper. The Observer Times is also saying vote buying allegation, NDC majority caucus demands annulment sanctions in Ayawaso East primary, and OSP also to probe alleged vote buying in MPP NDC primary. So yes, so they are going to probe into the 31st January primary, the presidential primary of the NPP and also the NDC that happened on Saturday, 7th February. So these are the two polls they are going to do. And single markets agenda gains momentum at APD 2026. Yeah, and also can spare parts dealers threatening strike over 20% VAT. And Amakofi Boa arrives in South Africa for key mining conference. So we will follow up and find some stories over there as well. Yeah, the Informer newspaper, Mahama sacks Baba Jamal over vote buying allegation. Yeah. And renaming airport won't solve challenges of Ghanaians, Sekou Nkrumah tells government. Yeah. I think this and some other stories you can find in the Informer newspaper this morning. So this and some other newspapers you would find some interesting stories in the various newspapers this morning. Felix van der Palen is already seated with our guest this morning to delve deeply into the various headlines making stories this morning. Stay with us on the headlines with Felix van der Palen.
And Valencia gave us those topics there. And I heard Valencia talk about the fact that, politics can be very interesting in Ghana, and I can't agree with her more. Sometimes it's not just about ideas, but about what happens on the ground. In Ayaso East, the NDC parliamentary primaries just ended. And Mohammed Baba Jamal Ahmed, a former High Commissioner to Nigeria, won convincingly with 431 votes. Big congratulations to him, but there's pepper in the soup, if you ask me. Strong allegations of vote buying, delegates reportedly receiving 32-inch TVs, bald eggs, was it Nkosiani Meko or what? I don't know, we'll find out. And other inducements. Some are calling for the results to be cancelled outright. President Mahama recalled Baba Jamal amid the controversy. The NDC has quickly set up a 3-member probe committee. We'll look at that as well. The majority caucus wants the whole thing annulled, and even the special prosecutor is looking into it. This is about trust in our democracy. When money and gifts enter the picture, does it still reflect the true voice of the people? Today on Headlines, right here on the GTV Breakfast Show, we go straight to the facts, the denials from Baba Jamal, who says it was just motivation, the calls for fairness, and all that involved in there. We'll look at that. I'm Kweku van der Palen, it's your Felix, and I've been joined by Oscar Provençal, the birthday man. Oscar Provençal has paid his dues in the arts, and I think that we need to celebrate this man. I remember you so well, your works and all of that, Inspector Bidiakon and all the other productions. Yeah. It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Felix. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's been a long journey. 60 years. Yesterday I turned 60. Yeah. And it's been a long journey in life, in your career. And I can only be extremely grateful to God and to my wife, my family, my kids. To be part of that journey, and the grace and the good people of Ghana who still call me Inspector Bediako. I'm not too sure whether I can remember my own name, but because everybody calls me Inspector Bediako, and.
You're Swift in that movie.
That's Swift. Well, but you see that journey alone is something that that I always say we never knew. Those of us who were in it, the likes of Akosi Abdallah, fantastic woman, Eko Beidou, Bingo, who's in America today.
Bingo,
yeah, and all the guys who were behind the scenes. I think we were just doing our passion and our love, and the Ghanaian people decided to put us on iconic status. We can only be grateful to them. I can only be grateful. Unfortunately, and I keep on saying this, somehow I get all the shine and I get all the glory. But
you paid your dues.
But you
didn't mention Bingo
and the rest.
I was with Eko.
I want to share this moment with them because without them I would not be here with that title. And Mr. Kojo Yanka, who was obviously who was a producer and has the copyright ownership of
Gratitude.
So gratitude all around.
Yeah.
And
Tanko is also with us. Tanko, it's good to have you. We're celebrating the man.
Yeah, fantastic. I also was always glued to my TV watching the Captain Bediako episode.
Inspector Bediako.
Yeah, so,
it was a series, actually.
Yeah, it was a series, and as you said, his paid his dues, and we need to be celebrating people when they're still alive.
You don't wait till they die.
Until they die. It looks like we're so much interested in that, and then people will come and now be talking about the good things that you've done. We don't know whether that is the way to go, but certainly I think we need to be celebrating people when they are alive. Okay. And I wish him all the best.
Thank you,
wish him more happiness and the success in the coming year. May Allah continue to bless him and guide him in all the things he does.
Great. Amen. All right. We've been joined also by Prince Wampo. Pastor Prince Tiama Wampo.
Thank you. Good morning to us.
I'm calling you Pastor because I got the revelation.
That's only one hat he wears. Yeah. So you have to call the other hats.
Yeah. No, when I come, I have to play all the hats sometimes.
Which one do you leave behind?
So he's an entrepreneur as well, an astute businessman.
It's all good. You have to play all together.
All right, so let's get into the issues. Time is fast, man. And let's get straight into what this whole thing is about, votes buying. And so it brings to mind the idea that gifts are being given and there are controversies. But I'll start with you. Let me start with Prince. Is that okay?
Yes,
fine.
Well,
yes.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at how we would be able to draw the line between giving gifts and actually buying votes or inducing voters. It's almost like an excuse for something, or it's becoming like a mayhem in the process of things, if you ask me. How do we draw the line?
I want to start on this background that the democracy we are practicing, if we don't take care, people will lose confidence in it. And the way we are making it and we are accepting it as a norm, one, it's making democracy become more expensive. And it will be skewed towards the people who will be put in places to go and steal, to come and buy the power. Because it's becoming expensive for them anyway. We can't go to elections where, from the general elections, we heard about some of these things. We should not pretend. We heard about some of this sharing of things and many things going on in the general elections. Because this one has become a small election in a place, That's why it's now very visible.
So it's not new.
It's not something, the speculation is all over. But the point is that it's reducing the confidence that we have in our democratic process. And the whole world is watching us. Sometimes, some of these things, when it happens and we are discussing it here, we think it's among ourselves between NPP. But this is a situation we have our president going to Zambia and talking about the things the government has been able to do, which is very remarkable. And the respect accorded to our president and how the outside world is seeing us. The following morning, they will come to my journal online or Ghana Web to read about Ghana. And it's a plain voter vote buying rigging with videos all over with people displaying things that they have received, and it's not good.
So it's expensive. And who's making it expensive?
No, and even elsewhere around the world, politicians are allowed to declare source of funding even for their campaigns. And even based on that, if they overspend, some of them are called to book. Here, how people make money to spend in elections, we don't know. And when they go, the voters also think that when we vote for you in the next 4 years, we will not see you. So once you are in, we are taking all that we can. The small electoral colleges that we have created and this small voter population to elect people to stand, also it has become so competitive that people have seen it as a way of making all the money they are looking for. And the politician will go and look for money, come and pay these people and get the votes, go to parliament, that the person is going to be paid 15 or 20,000 a month. So you can clearly ask the question, what is the motive of coming for the position? Maybe you are coming for the position to go and steal. Because either to a position that you are going to get, that they are going to pay you, your 4 year salary will not even match your prime minister alone. Mm-hmm. So what then becomes the motivation?
So who do we trust?
No, we have to come to a point that we will begin to educate our people that what you are doing, you are by placing these demands on these politicians, and they also coming to you knowing that they can get your conscience with, okay, all the things they gave you maybe amount to 20,000. So you have sold your conscience to the person for 20,000 for the next 4 years, which a person will not come and do anything, or is going to say there to make loss. They won't even factor you because they know they have to come in with money to come and buy you. And it's very bad. What the NDC have come out to say about it, to me, is a step in the right direction because they are working so hard now for Ghanaians to believe in what the government is doing. So if something like this comes up, and they don't correct it from whichever angle it will come from, they've sent the committee, I think majority caucus in parliament have come out with a written letter to condemn it, that we should acknowledge and get it into I think it's a right call because if we don't set a precedent with something, the whole thing becomes a very bad state. And don't forget, there is an election in Japan that somebody has won by forming a party for 3 weeks. So we are getting to a time where one person will stand up as an independent person and can take all these parties off. Because it will get to a time that people will read into the lines and see that what these politicians are doing, it doesn't represent our will. And they come in just to frustrate the unsuspecting people, get the votes, and they don't go and do anything.
So the idea of a main party and a main opposition may change along the line?
No, because what the precedent we are set, the thing that is going on is something of a major concern. Now, the right people, you can have the right person, intelligent to help the country, and cannot get in a bid because they don't have money. And now people have formed cartels sponsoring their own people to push their group agenda within parties. So they go there, make all the connections, make the money, and they become sponsors of people, and they create their own empire in parties.
Okay, let me bring Tanko in at this point. Tanko, you being a legal practitioner, the 1992 Constitution, is there anything in it that frowns, upon giving of gifts on election day and election grounds? Is there any provision on that?
Well, I mean, every law or regulation is contextualized based on the people's culture and principle. So if you look at gift in our culture, we always try to hide behind our culture and say, well, it's a gift. But the law recognizes when a gift can be considered to be a gift, and when a gift can actually veer into, if you like, bribery. Of course, intention always matters. But you have to look at what we are talking about now, which is the elections. And within our electoral laws, any attempt to induce a voter, directly or indirectly, is against the electoral laws. And when you look at our criminal code, bribery is also illegal. Now, the key issues are always the intention. People would hide behind, well, that's not my intention. My intention is not to induce. My intention is just to give them gifts. But you look at the context, when that gift is given, and even the amount that is given, they all go to demonstrate the intent and the purpose for which the giver is giving their money. And that's what we need to be looking at. And I think Prince alluded to that in a way. And we also need to look at the fact that the giver and the taker in the context are all culpable. Yes? But how do you get the giver or the taker to come out and expose the giver? If you look at campaign financing, a lot of work has been done by CDD and other organizations. And the tragedy is that it's getting worse and worse and worse by the day. And we are playing the ostrich. There's too much hypocrisy about the way we engage in this. It's like an open secret. And as Prince said, when you look at the whole concept behind representation, members of parliament, what do members of parliament do? You're going to represent your people. You're going to serve your people. Why do I have to come and give you money, almost all my life savings, to be able to go there and serve you? Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. Now, when you look at the literature and all the research that had been done, we've got to that stage where the electorates are becoming almost disgruntled about our political architecture and the political journey. And they think that when people go there, it's like they're creating opportunities for themselves and their immediate families. And they almost are the ones who send them there and make them rich overnight. And therefore, when they come to them to get their mandate, that is where they also have to demand their pound of flesh. And when you take the situation that our political literacy, electoral literacy is still very low, and you take the fact that we are also reeling under a lot of unemployment, people are really struggling to make ends meet, it makes it very easy for people to fall for some of these things. And if you tell them that you selling your votes is more or less like you allowing somebody to pay you to go there to represent you, not for your overall interest, but for their own parochial interest. For them, that is remote, that is secondary. So long as I'm going to get something immediately, I don't care, because at the end of the day, if I don't take it, I'm never going to get anything from them. And I think that the enforcement is what we need to take very seriously. I mean, even beyond the primaries, at the national level, we see it all the time, we talk about it, OSP comes in, what happens? Really, we all go back to sleep.
Let me just announce our WhatsApp number. We'll like comments from our viewers. So you definitely have some thoughts to share, so you can send them via 055 556 1034. That's 055 556 1034. Send your message and then we'll read them out to you. But we're trying to address the issue of how the Constitution sees gifts and relates it to intent, what the intent is. But how are we able to figure out intent? You know the saying in literature, King Duncan said something in Shakespeare, that there is no art that shows the construction of the mind in the face. how can we tell the intent? Here, Baba Jamal says, yes, I gave out gifts. But I don't have a bad intent. It's difficult to figure this out.
Yeah, but the laws would always find a way of arriving at that. That's why I told you that it depends on the context. You know, the context, the timing, the who is giving, what you're giving it for, the amount involved and all those things, and whether or not the action or the act that the people are engaged in are acts that they are supposed to do without any sort of gift or and all this. So the intent, it can always be demonstrated based on the action before and then the context within which the gift is given. But I'm saying that people think that they can hide behind gifts and then perpetuate what is clearly maybe bribery or voter inducement. Now, if you look at the average spend to be a member of parliament, it's almost averagely, the last time they did the 2020, I think 2020, almost about 4 million. That is average, primaries.
Anyway, on this note, let me hear from Oscar as well. Oscar, statements of condemnation all over. We've heard it even from, the General Secretary Fifi and all that. They're saying...
My colleagues have said all the right things.
Yeah. But I wanted to ask you this. Condemnation, there's a committee in place. Once you put in a committee, it means you're not sure of what happened. You want some answers. You want some evidence. Why then do we go condemn? What are we condemning when we've now put a committee in place to investigate something? We should wait for the outcome and then we'll say, okay, this is it. You did bad.
Well, that's the general way things ought to be done when a committee is put in place and there's an investigation into an allegation. Sometimes, but that doesn't stop us from discussing the matters.
Of course.
It serves as a catalyst to deal with the issues. And I was saying that my friends have graciously been calling it all kinds of funny names as inducement and gift, and it's just outright bribery. Let's call a spade a spade. You are going into an election for a vote. For a vote. And you are giving TV, Buta, which one did you say? Bodek. Whatever you are giving, the intent is there. The intent is to influence. I mean, nobody has to, go into I gave you a gift a few hours before you go and vote. What are you talking about? Please, forget about that kind of talk. That one is a different ball.
So there's no need for a committee then? You've concluded.
There's a need for a committee because there's a need for damage control.
Don't forget OSP is also in there. Yeah?
Yes, there's a need for obviously damage control and damage control for the party itself, for the people involved, the integrity of our voting institutions and the integrity of our democracy as a whole. I mean, this is just with delegates. And we've known the issue with delegates not today. Delegates, this is their cocoa season. This is where they hold you by the crunches. So, two-way thing, as my good friend Tanko said, is between the giver and the taker. And the receiver are all guilty by law. And I think that it is a shame on our democracy at this time, especially, and I feel quite sorry for the president at this time. As you've alluded to, he's been to Zambia, he's trying to reset our justice system and our whole country, and to have this so openly and glaringly coming out to be a subject matter in the midst of all the good things that are happening to the country.
Should you be feeling sorry for him? He's beginning to take action. He's recalled the names in question.
Those are decisions that are taken for damage control purposes and to make sure that you save the integrity of our democracy. So I see that as a normal process that should take place. If the president hadn't made that call, then I'm not too sure whether he's a true Democrat or not. I don't think he wants that stain. This is a president who obviously has a legacy to protect. He's building his legacy.
But Oscar, it cannot be ideal in every regard. So if we begin to feel sorry for the old man, there can be a perfect scene. There could be pockets of...
Maybe I've used the word sorry because it sounds sentimental or whatever, but I think you get the picture that I'm saying. It's not weeping sorry, no. And I think that, really speaking, I'm worried about our democracy going forward. And I'm worried because you can't run away from it today. Money plays a huge central role. And without us having any guidance, any laws, for political parties in terms of financing and campaign financing and all of that, it's an open market. And I don't think that as we go forward, and if you look at what's happening in the political parties today, they're broadening their bases. First it was a few delegates. Now if you go to NPP, it's 200,000. What happens if they get to the point of one man, one vote? If they get to the point of one man, one vote in the party and they have 2 million registered members, are you going to bribe 2 million people? You're going to give 3,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 to 2 million people. Where on earth are they going to get the money to do that? And so the only way to get that money back is by ripping off the state or by selling off to, the highest bidder, which then does not ensure that the right people will, govern, or you have a mafioso governing the country and not really the people's representative. And that's a huge threat onto our democracy.
Okay.
A
huge
threat going forward.
You have people who be sponsors of other people, and the sovereignty of the country can be compromised.
Not exactly what
globally, because we have global cartels.
So it's your turn.
Who will put money
from there?
It's global cartels who will put money.
It's your time. Oh dear.
No, global cartels will come and put money in your system to compromise and hijack your leaders. Because once they will give them about $100 million to come and run a campaign and win, maybe the promise is that when you finish, you want A, B, C, D from your country. And they have to pass some contracts and things. So the will of the people, the money has been shared to the people, but the payback will be bigger. And it will make your government even effective. Because he will be a president somebody is controlling, or a minister or an MP that somebody has put stakes in what they have done. So they go to parliament. Laws that they will make will be favoring global organizations who have given them money behind the scenes. So we have to be very careful as a country. These things that we are talking about, it have a bigger consequences if you look at the way it will play out in the long term. So we have to be very careful. The way we are going and we are encouraging it, it was just a TV. Multiply the number of TVs by the number of people who voted. And multiply other things that have been given. If somebody comes and says, I spent 2.5 million, where did he get 2.5 million? As an ambassador, how much is he paid? We should be able to ask questions. In this country, if you ask questions, then somebody will come and he's envious. He's like, how much is the salary of a politician?
Right, so great. OSP is working now. Committee is also working. Should they come up and say, oh, nothing happened, it was just gift? Will you be disappointed?
Extremely. I'm not disappointed, but this is extremely. Because there should be something that we will do. Not because Tanko is my friend or Oscar, so something go and we have to let it go. There should be a point where we say, this one, enough is enough, let's stop this at this level. Let's anoint anybody who is found, if all the candidates, clear all the candidates from there, bring new people, make sure the system is fair, let somebody win genuinely. And once the person wins genuinely, it becomes a precedent. Now, if somebody is going to his constituency and going to misbehave, he will now begin to think twice. That if I throw this money, I can even win and they will clear the whole thing off. And I'll lose my money. So then people begin to now engage. People now begin to sell their ideas. Begin to go to the people and tell them that I'm going there to do A, B, C, D. So that somebody like the MP for Madina Suso, lawyer Xavier, some young people like that, very energetic, who might not have deep pockets, will be able to enter politics and go and represent us.
So you're expecting people to be held culpable, and you're expecting penalties.
Penalties should be given.
You're itching to say something.
So I just wanted to touch on something that Oscar said when he said that there was no need for any investigations. I mean, we need to be very careful, how, yes, no matter how upset and outraged we are about a situation, we need to be very careful not to be emotional and turn due process upside down, because this is what political actors would always want. When we get too emotional, we play into their hands, and then we sidestep rule of law. I mean, everybody is innocent until proven guilty. So even if you think that you have seen everything feely, as they say, the person still has to be taken through the due process for the person to, for the evidence to show that the person has done something wrong. Because ultimately, whatever the committee would do, whatever the OSP would do, the OSP, it's not the final arbiter in terms of culpability in this country. It has to go to court. And you don't just go to court for going sake. You need to go to court with evidence based on rule of law. And if you don't go there with evidence, then you'll be thrown away, and then that would be disastrous. The other thing also I needed to point out is that Oscar talked about it would have been bizarre if the president hadn't taken action. I agree with him. But we also have to remind ourselves that this is not the first time we've heard about vote buying in this country. I mean, in our fourth Republican dispensation, it happens almost at every election, and nothing has been done. And I remember the last elections, a lot of evidence was thrown out when we went to the by-elections in the Asin North. We saw what happened. The evidence was overwhelming, but nothing was done. So I think we need to recognize when there is a departure from the way we used to do things, so that is how we can encourage leaders to do what they are supposed to do. So I think that kudos to the president for doing what he done. Although I feel that if you look at the principle of prejudice, you could argue that based on the decision that has been taken, it puts Baba Jamal in a very difficult situation, especially when he's going to go before a committee and all those things. But the president has the ultimate responsibility of determining whether, based on what he's seen and the fact that you're going to be subjected to investigations, he wants to recall you so that, things will be done the right way.
Does that recall a punitive action?
It is a punitive action because the reason why it's a punitive action is that as far as Baba Jamal is concerned, he only went on he took his leave, and so by and large he's not actually he's still an ambassador. But now that he's been recalled, clearly it would go down on record.
He's won. He would have resigned.
Resigning is different from you being removed or recalled. It would go on your CV. So there are two different things, and the symbolism itself is very, very, very crucial.
And that
is why he would go to every extent to try and exonerate himself.
I was driving at something, assuming nothing happens. You said in the past evidence was thrown out there, nothing happened. If nothing happened in this case, then what's the punitive action there? Because he would have resigned anyway he's won. For the position.
But the party is instituting investigations. The OSP is looking into it and all these things. So there are different layers. But from the political administration perspective, they have done what they are supposed to do. He has been recalled. The party has taken a position. Although, if you look at the position of the majority itself, it throws out a lot of legal controversies, and that's why if you look at what came up subsequently, the majority leader has recused himself or has been asked to recuse himself from the committee because the majority had already taken a position that as far as they are concerned, this is what they want to see. And so if the majority has already taken a position and the majority leader is going to be part of a committee that is going to be investigating in terms of fairness, then we need to be very careful. But remember, Amenfi Central, I think we should cast our mind back just in 2024. Amenfi Central, there was some controversy. People were in court, and then the NDC annulled the elections and ask people to go and contest again. So there is some precedent. It's just that this time around, maybe we need to take it to another level, because it looks like when these things happen, we talk about it after, then everybody goes to sleep. I think we need to talk about it and make sure that all the political parties have to come together. I want to, before I leave, it's very important. There was a research that was conducted, and it was published in the Journal of Political Science and International Relationship. And it says, implications of vote selling on Ghana's democracy, evidence from the Bantama constituency. Right? They did some research, and it was clear that vote buying is almost like a given. It has serious consequences.
Okay. Please keep your messages coming through, and then we'll read them out for you. Your thoughts are also very much needed here. We need them. So keep it coming, and then we'll read them. I'll bring Oscar in. You know, Baba Jamal was asked to resign before participating, and he rejected. How is that appropriate? He rejected the idea.
Well, that's the decision. There's no law. There's no law, and there's no crime about it. So well, that's the decision he took. You can't fault him. It's his right. But I also want us to look at it from this perspective. When you look at our democracy as a whole, public opinion is very important.
So let me announce the number again. The WhatsApp. Sorry, 055-556-1034. 055-556-1034. Keep your messages going.
In the belief and in the trust of the processes towards our democracy, shaping our democracy, and all of these are building blocks. You do your primaries. It's a building block to that bigger picture of the bigger democracy. So it's just a microcosm of the big picture. If it's happening at this level, you can't imagine when the stakes are far higher what is happening. And so public opinion is important. And these days, social media, before you say jack, everybody is seeing it. So the public opinion is being swayed and is being formed within an instant, as they say, virally. And sometimes if it's going to be difficult to overturn that public opinion, that perception. In Ghana, I keep on saying perception is far greater than reality in this country. Just have the perception alone is a problem. And so, yes, you can have your internal white paper and come out and say, oh, whatever. But a perception has already been formed by the larger perception we already have about how our politics is conducted. And therefore, where is our democracy going to go? And so, it's a very, very serious matter. It's not because we don't like Baba Jamal or we don't like Party A or Party B, because this cuts across all the parties. You
don't seem to believe in anything, or it's just what happens, and then you come with your judgment. That's how I've seen us.
Well, I you see, because that's the cynicism that unfortunately now is embedded in some of us articles, because the politics where we have conducted over the years,
like Tanko said, it needs to go through processes.
Yes, it needs to go through processes. But why do we say politicians are thieves? How did that mindset come? How did that perception come? It's come because of how they've conducted themselves, and not all politicians, but a perception over time that has been built up. So we naturally say it from our mouths. It's generic, but it's wrong. You can't say all politicians are thieves. You can't say all politicians have come into the public arena just to come and plunder the national, purse. You can't say that. But the perception is out there. So in this dispensation, when you're talking about a party and a president who wants to reset the country, then you don't want to see justice being skewed. You really want to see that justice is being done.
How?
And so when it is eroded by the perception, and as we go through the process, and from the knowledge prosequise to you name it, and the things that can erode public confidence in that is their equality or fairness in the justice system. Somebody was talking about Agrada sentence being reduced from 15 years to 1 year when somebody steals a goat and is given 15 years and is still languishing inside the jail. Where's the equality in that? Where's the fairness in that? You know, and all of these things are things that people are discussing. You go to places and people are discussing these things. These perceptions are out there. Is that the narrative that we want to shape our democracy?
So because of that, it shouldn't go through the process?
No, I'm not saying. No, and I'm not saying you shouldn't go through the process. But we were all here at a certain point in time in the last dispensation of the last government, and there was a perception that the Supreme Court was what? Because of the decisions that were being taken by the court, and it was going against a certain party. The narrative is formed by the press or by the politicians, or let's say by the politicians and carried by the press to the people, and then the people begin to form their opinions. And the people begin to form their opinions.
But you see, Oscar, the reason why...
So I'm not saying no for process, but we should be wary of it. And we should be wary at a time where we have a situation where social media has a huge role to play in the... And the same way we're saying that money can influence politics, we should equally be afraid of what social media is doing to the politics and the fake media and the misinformation, disinformation, and all of these things that are happening, which the politicians feed on.
Okay, I want us not to deviate. You know, this might take us to another.
No, but you can't run away from it.
But the point is made that we should approach it with caution and
as lawyers
Oscar's position
to a conclusion.
You see, when we get platforms like this, in as much as yes, perceptions are very important, but you don't run a country based on perception. There is rule of law. So whatever it is, that perception has to actually be grounded in rule of law. Because ultimately, the decision would have to be taken. But yes, perception can actually give us a signal that this is how people are thinking. But ultimately, you cannot say because people have this perception, we should sidestep rule of law. Because it's dangerous. Otherwise, we would all be...
And if we come to a conclusion, if we are allowed the rule of law to bring a conclusion to a matter, then other people, because the way social media, I'm connecting the two, the way people will be watching these things on social media, it now becomes a norm and something they are going to even demand more from people who will be coming to them for some of these positions. So if they see that this thing happened and the processes were followed and the evidence that was gathered arrived at this conclusion, if they are even doing it, they'll be careful.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why it's across the country.
Rule of law as if rule of law is deemed to be fair and equitable in this country. There's also a perception that rule of law is not fair and equitable.
So there's also a level of it. There's a level of it you have come to accept.
No, you're making it an assumption as if it is a truism.
Okay.
No,
I'm saying it's not a truism.
Globally, it's not a truism. Go to countries where people leave office and they are orchestrated. There's an orchestration in their government and they are sent to prison.
All right, so the law must still rule. I want us to quickly take a look at
still they believe in the law.
The committee that has been formed. I understand the chairperson is Mr. Toby Kwachi, and there is also a lawyer, MFA Fuga, and like you said earlier, Mahama Yarga majority was on it, and then he stepped back, and now yes. What do we make of this lineup, this constitution? I mean, in terms of transparency, truthfulness, and the like, objectivity. We'll start like Prince.
No,
and then we come
when
this
we
way.
form committees, you will not be able to pick which sides they belong to, and most of the time they are not even interested. A lot more time people want to work so that they also will be trusted, and in subsequent roles they will be called to sit in. So they are going to look at the evidence that will be given to them, and the committee's work will be as effective as the amount of information that they will get. And once they're able to get this evidence and information, the investigations that they will do all their decision, the decision that will come out of the committee ultimately will rest upon the fact that the evidence given them, they were able to get enough to work with. So we are praying that as they go to work and as they are gathering the evidence around, they'll be able to do a good job.
But information that comes is not the only thing that works in that regard. I mean, people have their own perceptions. Again, let me use the word because
perception will always be there.
So I'm saying that the information is not enough. I asked about
even they themselves going into the committee,
in spite of the information that they would get.
No, even they themselves going into the committee, they've heard a lot on social media or on other media platforms and all that. You understand? But this is going to be against the hardcore evidence that will be presented to them. People they will talk to. People will be willing to come out and share information. And in the work of a committee, it becomes a bit difficult because these people that they are going to investigate them, they have allegiances with some of these people. When they see it has gotten to a committee level, even people to come out to volunteer information, sometimes will be a trick. But by and large, they will have something to work with. They have still honest people within the constituency, I believe, who want to have the system sanitized in the area. Not everybody is quoted unquote corrupt. That if we generalize it, we are not being fair. There are people who were there, I can tell you on authority, who frown on the things that was going on there. And there's a very pure Muslim community where there are people who are holding on to their religion and wouldn't want to even be involved in those things. So, I mean, the committee will have something to work with.
Zachariah. I rarely call you that. I just called you Zachariah. I will say Tanko. We also have the OSP in place. Do we need more than one body to
Well, the
do
OSP
this?
is a statutory organization, and they are looking at the criminal aspect of it. The OSP is widened their network. They're also looking at the just ended MPP presidential primaries as well, and we saw a lot of things happen there. People openly came out and said they gave out money. But what the committee is doing is more, this is an internal thing. So it's an internal thing. They want to look at what has happened. So that would inform what they are going to do going forward, whether they are going to annul the elections, whatever recommendations would come out. And for me, the only concern I had was the inclusion of the majority leader in the committee, especially because of what happened before the elections. Before the elections, the majority had gone to one of the candidates and donated some resources to her because, of course, Osman was a former member of parliament, so it's understandable. They gave her some money. And then just after the elections, they rightly condemned what they saw and made recommendations for the annulment and sanctioning of the parties.
Does that put the majority leader in any peculiar position?
Course, so because of that, when I saw his name as part of the committee, I was a little bit concerned. And so it is appropriate that the right thing had been done and the majority leader is not involved. Those people who are involved are party members. They are people, Kofi Totobi Kwache is been in the NDC from the PNDC days up to now. He's held, ministerial positions, cabinet positions, and all those things. Inus Afuseni had been a member of parliament and all those things. So they are all capable of looking at all these things. At the end of the day, if any of the parties think that any of the members of the committee are not going to be fair, just, and reasonable in the exercise of that committee's work, they have the right to object to that and all those things. So I think that for now, I think that's the way to go. It is an internal thing. The committee will look at it, they will gather evidence, and based on that, they will make their recommendations. That does not stop the OSP from doing what they're doing, but it's possible that whatever the committee may gather, whatever recommendations they may gather, may also, the OSP may take notice of that, and that would inform what they do going forward.
Okay, Oscar, I'm sure you would love to comment on the fact that the OSP is not only looking at the primaries, what happened, but they are going further to look at the source of funding, what happened at the NPP presidential primaries, all of that. We have a lot to do with, and I'm sure this is one of your favorite areas.
I mean, the OSP will come into this obviously for the criminal elements, and this is a national issue that maybe needs to be tackled once and for all. I mean, we've said the same thing about Galamsey. It needs to be tackled once and for all. But like everybody's saying, it's an internal process without holding prejudice against the integrity of the committee members. I mean, I'm sure they are honorable men in their own rights, but my cynicism comes from the fact that sometimes you need an independent body or investigation in certain things. But obviously, this is a political party issue. They will have their internal investigations, and if they deem fit, as in many times, they will weigh the ramifications against the party vis-a-vis the individual, sacrifice the individual vis-a-vis the party. And depending on how they look at things from a broad national point of view, how it will impact the party, they'll take a decision as to whether to, if found guilty, to do the punitive thing, or they'll do a white paper thing and wash it over, and life goes on as usual.
I can sense what you don't mind.
And life goes on as usual. I mean, we don't want that to happen.
I was telling you about the work that CDD has done on the campaign financing, and I just wanted to draw attention to the cost drivers. So sometimes we just look at what happened on election day, but before election day, a lot of things happen. Funerals, donations to funerals, targeting, funerals within the community, weddings, donations to organizations, sports activities, cash handouts, bicycles, we saw that, and all those things. So, it's not just what happens on election day. A lot happens before the elections day. And that's why I'm saying that if the political parties would come together, and decide that, listen, we have to say no to this, I think we'll be making a headway. Because frankly,
this is your wish. Will we get there? It's your wish.
We can get there because when you look at, we can get there because the NDC actually started something. And then their concern was that there was infiltration into their camp. When they opened up and said all paid up members of the political party should be able to vote to determine who leads. When you open up and there are so many delegates, it becomes extremely difficult for an individual to try and want to corrupt. They would still be able to do that, but it mitigates it, and the evidence has shown that it mitigates it. When the NDC did that, it mitigated the vote buying and inducement, but their concern was that other non-party members infiltrated and got registered, and they actually altered the whole thing. But the way to go is not to throw it away, is to look at how you correct it. And I'm saying that if all the political parties can decide, and I think the MPP is also making some advocacy around those lines, that let every registered, voter, every paid up voter in the constituency, let them be eligible to go and vote. And let's see whether, if you are dealing with how many delegates, 1 million delegates, whether you can afford to give them 3,000. If you are able to do that, then of course the statutory organizations would then trigger the source of funding. Where did you get the resources to be able to pay almost about this number of voters, 3,000 cedis and all this? Then we can start looking at this. But if we make it very small, of course, when you are dealing with a smaller delegate, it makes it much more, and there's a contest, it makes it much more easier for this inducement to take place.
Prince, there's another aspect of Baba Jamal's issue. There's a case of assault where they said that an OSP authorized officer was assaulted, and it's alleged that Baba Jamal instigated that. And for a diplomat, I thought if it's true...
No, I mean, when that's why perception always plays into it. If you look at the history of Baba Jamal and his Akwatia elections and the violence that took place there, he will not be far away from these allegations that have been created. But to me, that's why Oscar was saying about perception. Don't do something that will keep a perception in people's minds. So if the thing is not even you, your opponent even did it and want to link you to it, there has been a history of you doing it. And that becomes something you really have to fight so hard to clear your name.
Yeah. And you know this also. Now he's been, recalled by the president. If this is annulled, investigation takes place and he's found guilty, it tells me he's going to lose everything. Is that
No,
the
but
case?
the point is that is also, I mean, if you put it quote and unquote, it will be the consequence of greed, because you have an appointment. To see another opening that can be taken by other people, and you just want to put one aside and use your two hands, one leg on this one, and come into look.
So is that it? Will he lose everything?
But for me, you see, we need to be
it's
fair.
open contest, but the point is that
we need to be fair.
In your quest to have the two, you can lose the two.
No, please.
No, that's true.
Yeah, we need to be fair.
No, in your quest to have the two, you can lose the two.
Yeah, but we need to be fair, because if you say that Baba Jamal is greedy because he held on to the.
I'm saying it can be a consequence of greed.
Yeah.
You said one leg here, one leg there. Exactly. It's a strategy.
But what I'm saying is that one of the candidates as
So you're helping him out, eh?
No, but you say give. Now one leg here, one leg.
One of the candidates as well, she serves on the boards,
Okay.
2 boards. Do you get my point? So the point I'm making is that it's about the consistency and the principle. When we are going to condemn something, let's condemn it based on principles, and let's be consistent in the way we go about the condemnation. When we pick and choose, it makes it very difficult for policy advocacy and for policy reform.
Okay.
But when principle and consistency lead, it makes it much more easier to get a lot of people on board.
If you are talking about principle,
reforms.
the person, to me, you should have resigned the position, come and do your elections, win, and move forward. Because he was very confident that he will be.
I need to go.
He placed second there before.
Why didn't the woman?
we'll have to.
Why didn't the woman? Why didn't people advocate
to go
why
to
did
another
other people
country?
advocate for
Okay,
the
look
woman
here, look
to
here.
also leave their position
You're knocking the ball out of the
We've been on
ballpark.
this table,
You know.
and we've tried our hardest not to single it on an individual and just do a broad.
All right, so it's time to go. Thank you, birthday man, Oscar. Thank you, Tanko. Thank you, Prince, for coming on the show. I wish you all the best. And that's the story from Ayawaso East. Baba Jamal's victory overshadowed by allegations of inducement and vote buying, ongoing probes by NDC Committee and the OSP, and strong calls for cancellation. Whatever happens next, one thing remains clear: integrity in our politics matters and must matter to every Ghanaian. That's been for headlines here on the GTV Breakfast Show. I'm Kweku van der Pal and it's your Felix. There's more action ahead, so stay on.